Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, your boy still on vacation, right? I know thumbnails have not been the most optimal, but I don't have access to my settings. I don't have access to what I use normally, but it's okay because the vacation is slowly coming to an end, right? I will be back home in a couple of days and everything will be back to normal. Streams will definitely resume. We'll probably start at the end of June or the 1st of July, right? Because when I do come back, I'm still actually going to be, I still actually do have to go somewhere for another 4 more days. So it's still like a week from now is practically when everything will be back to normal. But listen, the world has been going a little bit crazy, right? With the war news, we know, you know, America has been striking bases in Iran and etc. And then Iran retaliated. But listen, right? Not let's not dive too much into that because I know some people are stressed out and don't like talking about it. Let's just look at the charts from a technical analysis standpoint, okay? Because I know a lot of you guys are worried with how crypto is going. Is Bitcoin going to go back down to 92K? Are we going back down to 80K? Is this the top, right? Some people are saying, hey, this looks super familiar, right? These candles, this chart, this pattern, to something that we had all the way down here, right? People are saying it looks familiar and that it might be the end. And to be honest, I disagree. I still disagree. I disagree. I would have to see obviously how some of the candles close, especially the monthly candle and the 3-month candle for me to really make up my mind 100%, right? Because obviously the monthly candle has a lot of value, okay? And then obviously the 3-month candle has way more value in terms of structure, right? We can see back in the last cycle when things were already, showing weak signs and etc., right? Very weak 3-month candle, an extremely weak 3-month candle, and then we can see 6 months later Bitcoin was down at 20K. And then again, 6 months later, it was down at around 15K. So, the data does not bait or necessarily really lie in the 3-month chart, in the 1-month chart. And yeah, we can see there's a monthly for Bitcoin. Remember, we did close at like $104,750 more or less, right? Which was higher than this candle over here at $102,400, right? So we did form a higher high, okay? We also did know that when we did pull back, all we were simply doing was, doing things at a fundamental level where we had these highs, these lows, these highs, these lows, and now we're looking to continue to go up higher and higher, right? I still think that there is a good amount of lifeline left in Bitcoin, right? Like I said, the only way it really goes downhill is like if World War III would truly start. That is when, it's as good as done. But until then, we're not really going to be focusing on that because, it hasn't happened. And I don't think it will happen, right? A lot of people don't want war. Most likely it would also be high chance at the end of the world. We could see that, we did recover, right? When we went from $102,780, we went down all the way sub 100K. We bounced up, right? Retested off of this zone right over here. Boom, like this, right? We retested it. And then we sold off the next few hours. We dipped back below 100K. But then now we have a very strong aggressive candle. And for me, to be honest, this seems like it wants to start reversing up. The way these candles are forming and closing into the zones they're going to seems actually pretty bullish and potential reversal signs, right? We, tapped perfectly into an hour order block. Now we're looking to break above this purple box, right? We're looking to break above, let's just say 103,000. Yeah, we're looking to break above 103,000 to create higher highs, right? That's what it looks like we are looking to do, right? Go up higher, probably pull back a little bit, retest to continue going up. And that's what I would really want to see, okay? Because let's be honest, right? If we saw the markets dip by 10K, 20K, that would be not ideal for some of our altcoins, right? Some of our altcoins already, at $2.86, $1 for AKT. I mean, Myro is a little bit different because, it's not doing so well from its end. But yeah, turbo, right? Turbo would go down a dramatic amount, right? Really, really, like it would. If we went down another 20K, turbo definitely could come back to this purple box, if not even lower. So we don't really want that. We don't really want that. I am looking for, reversal signs. We are getting some at this current moment, right? We are closing fairly well as of right now with this 4-hour candle and this big rejection. But like I said, we need to break above this purple box. And once we do, then there's a high probability of things looking well. We could also see, right, this is strong Monday candle. So we want to start closing good. We really, really do. Because if we kind of start struggling around 102,000 and even up towards to 104,000, and like if we get to 104,000 and it's looking very, very weak, then we most likely will be going lower and lower. Overall though, right, overall, I still want June to end fairly strong, just so the 3-month candle is going to look strong, okay? Because if we do reverse and we go back down to, let's say, the 92,000 zone, then that would really not be ideal on the higher time frame. Okay, it would be actually really, really not ideal on the higher time frame. Coming back down to this purple box, having this 3-month candle actually close this big rejection, that would be really, really scary and potential for prices to go even lower. So not too optimal. Now here's the deal, right? Since we did, kind of go sideways for 2 weeks and we did have a good sell-off last week, it is always kind of not always, but there's always like 80% of the time, usually right after a big sell-off, there is some type of candle that pulls up and then usually next week sells off even more. So even if this weekly candle does end, let's say green, right, does end green and goes up to 104,000, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to go even lower, okay? I would really want this weekly candle to be really, really strong. Like if we would especially close back up to 106K, then I'd be really confident. That's why I said, that 104K zone doesn't mean we're right away safe. Okay, it doesn't mean we're right away safe. And we've kind of seen this before, right? When something kind of sells off, then it recovers, but then it actually doesn't create higher highs on like the weekly, right? We sold off here, we went up, oh, look nice, and boom, sold off even lower. So, just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. But overall, I'm still, optimistic. Like I said, right now, there's no confirmation of 92K, but we do have that in mind. I do really want to see how the next few days unfold, right? Especially if we start going stronger and stronger. My next zone I'm looking for is how we're going to react off of this 4-hour order block zone, right? This is very important because if we simply, even if we go up to 106,000, but we have a huge rejection, then there's a high probability we will be going lower. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, that is ultimately it, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin has been, it's been moving not according to global liquidity the way we want it to, but like I said, things are still looking this is a pretty solid monthly candle. 3-month is looking good at this moment, as long as we kind of stay around this area or even go higher. Of course, the daily is looking good at this moment, but a lot can change. Hopefully the world does not decide to, blow itself up. I really do want to live my life a little bit longer. And of course, I want to experience these amazing crypto gains, as well as continue to build the sniper army. Speaking about that, ladies and gentlemen, right, we do have the free Discord open. It's the first link, so highly recommend joining the community, right? We talk about Turbo, we talk about some other stuff. And of course, if you want better and more advanced information with a portfolio review, then highly recommend joining the private community. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys have a fantastic time. Everything will return back to normal in about a week. And yeah, I'm going to go back to 3 to 5 videos a day. We're going to be grinding extra hard and everything's going to be organized. We'll start streaming again at 7 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, until then, we're on vacation. We're chilling. Markets are looking like whatever. But, that's just how it is sometimes. Love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.